everyone, my name is Paul Richardson and today we are looking at the robbery of aircraft parts. These processes are focused on current UK-based regulations. This 5-minute presentation highlights the component robbery process. From time to time, an aircraft may become unserviceable due to a part failing. Flight would no longer be permitted without fixing this situation. A similar aircraft that has the right component may be available, and for operational reasons, transferring the part is required. The required part is identified on the unserviceable aircraft, and the same part from the serviceable donor aircraft may be transferred. The unserviceable aircraft now becomes serviceable, whilst the serviceable aircraft becomes unserviceable, awaiting the arrival of the part from a supplier. The part arrives later and is replaced, making the aircraft serviceable again for flight. This is the robbery process. The component transfer between aircraft must be handled correctly to maintain safety. Guidance documentation about the robbery process is available on the Bristow portal. These are QID 054, our maintenance exposition, using section 2.16. QID 001, our maintenance procedures, contains a handy robbery process chart reference in section 1.12. The QAF 286 form is the component serviceability process form which must accompany the paperwork for the robbery. The QAF 461 form is the robbery register and used to record all component robberies at a local or base location. The 2-page QAF 286 form must accompany the paperwork for the robbery. It contains signatures for each element of the process. Let us look at the number of elements that require our attention during the robbery process. These are: is the part required already available in the supply chain? Because if it is, then robbery would not be permitted. Can the item be deferred? If it could, then the robbery would not be permitted. Has the robbery been approved by the chief engineer or the engineer in charge? The robbery should be recorded on the QAF 461 form. Does the donor aircraft have a valid certificate of airworthiness? Robberies are not automatically permitted from an aircraft without a current C of A. Is the donor aircraft a Bristow aircraft and EASA G registered? Robberies are not automatically permitted from non-Bristow and non-G-Reg aircraft. Were there any defects on the last flight associated with the component on the donor aircraft? Is the item already deferred? Defective parts cannot be robbed. If you're robbing a base maintenance aircraft, have you informed the base maintenance chief engineer? He may have vital information that could prevent a robbery being permitted. If, for example, component modification state or other reasons may be present. Has the part been inspected for damage? A thorough inspection of the robbed component would be required to satisfy yourself that the part is serviceable. Have you reviewed any manufacturer's maintenance instructions for the part? Some parts may require reconfiguration for the robbery to proceed. Have you checked the serialized component life records? Satisfying yourself that the component is within its life tolerances and the records are in order is a requirement. Are all the scheduled maintenance inspections complete for this part? Checking these inspections are in order is another requirement. Does the unserviceable component need a strip report raising? Strip reports are required for failed components which could affect flight safety. Have you reviewed the component hours and cycles or landings with the log cards? You must ensure that these are in order during the robbery process. Is the modification status or software the correct version? Different aircraft may require different software configurations. Have you raised an AOG notice for the robbed aircraft? We must ensure that the change in status is known. If the component is an engine part, check that it meets CATPOL H305 requirements by referring to TD Gen 71-042E or its latest revision. Are operations aware of the AOG status of the donor aircraft? Good communication of this information prevents scheduling delays. Has the unserviceable component caused an unsafe aircraft? There is a requirement to report these events for critical parts to the manufacturer, usually through Global Fleet Support within 72 hours. And finally, have you raised a EMX RB robbery notification? Details for this are in the SAP MRO 013 support notice available on the Bristow portal. This concludes our review of robbery processing. Thanks for your time.